This afternoon, we will hold a first hearing on Senate Bill 26, Eliminate Daylight Saving Time, sponsored by my office, and a second hearing on Senate Bill 102, Eliminate Daylight Saving Time, by the Senate State Affairs Committee. We heard an introduction of Senate Bill 102 last week, and we will continue battling daylight today. First up is Senate Bill 26. My district has been staunch opponents of time change for generations of senators, including Senator Anna McKinnon, who this bill is modeled on. That bill had made it further than any other daylight savings bill so far in the Alaska legislature. My staff, Kerry Crocker, is here to review the bill and answer questions from the committee. So thank you, Mr. Crocker, for being here. If you place yourself on the record and begin your fascinating presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. For the record, Kerry Crocker, staff to Senator Merrick. Alaskans have been grumbling about daylight savings time and awkward time zones for years. As a matter of fact, 25 years. And there's been 13 bills introduced in the last 25 years. SB 26 aims to fix that, and here's what the bill does. The bill would permanently ditch daylight savings time, meaning no more spring forward, no more falling back. Alaskans would stay in one time all year. It would keep the mornings brighter in the winter and ending that twice a year confusion. And again, our first section of our bill is exactly as SB 102. The second section of our bill gives Alaska time zone a tune-up, if you will. Right now, all of Alaska is on Alaska Standard Time, and this bill petitions the U.S. Department of Transportation to move the entire state to Pacific Time. This would put us in sync with the West Coast, making business and travel and the TV schedule better for everybody. What's the catch? The no daylight savings time rule in Section 1 of the bill only kicks in if the federal government approves the move to Pacific Standard Time by January 1st, 2035. If they say no, we stay how we are. However, the official request to change to Pacific Time would be, the effective date would be immediate. The bottom line is SB 26 is about simplifying Alaska's timekeeping and ditching the annoying clock changes and making it easier for everyone. If it's okay with the chair, I can roll through a sectional analysis for a more technical version.
Yes, please.
Section 1 of the bill amends AS 4412, exempting Alaska from daylight savings time. Section 2 of the bill amends uncodified law of the state of Alaska and petitions the United States Department of Transportation to change Alaska's time zone, directs the Alaska State Legislature to formally petition the United States Department of Transportation to move the entire state of Alaska to Pacific Time. The requests that DOT initiate the proceedings under the Uniform Time Act of 1966, following the procedural requirements for changing time zones. Section 3 states that Section 1, the exemption of the daylight savings time, will only take effect if the DOT places the entire state of Alaska within the Pacific Time Zone before January 1st, 2035. Section 4 provides that Section 2, which initiates the petition to DOT, takes effect immediately upon passage of this act. And Section 5 specifies that if Section 1, the exemption from daylight saving time, takes effect, it will do so on the effective date of the placement of all of Alaska and Pacific Standard Time.
Thank you, Mr. Crocker. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, Mr. Crocker, can you explain why passing only Section 1 of this bill creates problems for commerce in Alaska?
As we did our research on this legislation, we found that particular groups, we looked at former hearings, former committee hearings, and we saw kind of a continuing theme that industry groups from tourism, bankers, travel, have issues with the being further away from New York or being further away from the West Coast. So that's why we chose this legislation to move forward.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Crocker. We will take a brief at ease. We'll bring the committee back to order at 1:41 p.m. Next on our agenda is Senate Bill 102, also to eliminate daylight saving time by the Senate State Affairs Committee. Senator Kawasaki is the chair of State Affairs. If you and your staff, Joe Hayes, would put yourselves on the record, briefly reintroduce your bill, and then we will have one invited testifier. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joe Hayes, staff to Senator Kawasaki.
And Senator Scott Kawasaki, Senate District P, representing Fairbanks, Fort Wainwright, and Badger. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 102 again.
Okay. Well, Madam Chair, we wanted to present a survey that was done by members of our constituency, where it shows that the question was, did folks prefer permanent daylight savings time or permanent standard time? And by a 75.6 to a 24.4, they preferred permanent standard time. And then we also asked the question, do you like changing your clocks twice a year due to daylight savings? And 95.5% said no. And then one more, we said, if you could, would you get rid of daylight savings time? And 97.7% said yes. So on top of the things that we mentioned last week, we feel relatively strong that, that the citizens of the state of Alaska would love to eliminate daylight savings time. And we have invited testimony for the committee.
Great, thank you. You obviously have very smart constituents. Okay, we have one invited testifier for this bill. JP, president of Save Standard Time, is on Teams. Mr. P, welcome. If you could state your name, affiliation, and location for the record and begin your testimony.
Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Mr. JP, first name spelled Jay, last name spelled PEA. I live in the Phoenix area of Arizona. I'm the president of the nonprofit Save Standard Time. I'm also the co-chair for the Coalition for Permanent Standard Time, a collaboration with 8 nonprofits for health and safety. We would advise a no on Senate Bill 26 and a yes on Senate Bill 102. We agree that we want to ditch the switch, lock the clock, as most voters wish to do, and we want to do it in the quickest way, the federally approved way of permanent standard time, and the safest, healthiest, and most lasting way per the lessons of history and science, which again is for permanent standard time. Daylight saving time is simply a mandate to wake early and to sleep less. When you turn your clock ahead an hour, your alarm clock will sound an hour earlier the next day, and every day thereafter until you put your clock back to standard time. Daylight saving time was originally intended only for the summer when the sun is already rising earlier than it does in the winter. It's never intended for winter, and it does not go well when it's done in the winter. It deprives sleep every single night, an average of 19 minutes every night, not just that first time that we're changing the clocks. And this leads to more illnesses, more fatal accidents, which increases healthcare costs and, of course, costs lives. Permanent daylight time in Anchorage would put the sunrise past 9 o'clock in the morning, currently 3.5 months, make that 4.5 months of 9 a.m. darkness. If you're looking at 10 o'clock in the morning, currently the sun is coming up in Anchorage after 10 o'clock for just 1 month. That would become 3 months with permanent daylight time. The latest sunrise in Anchorage would go from 10:15 to 11:15 with permanent daylight. And it'd be even worse out in western Alaska. The sun wouldn't even be rising until afternoon with permanent daylight. And again, to be sure, the idea of permanent Pacific Standard Time is the same thing as permanent Alaska Daylight Time. This is federally prohibited, and the Department of Transportation has never granted an entire state to change time zones, as is proposed by the other bill. Summers will always have longer daylight. Winters will always have shorter daylight. Standard time is the natural clock set to the sun, 12 p.m. high noon, balance of morning and evening light. Morning light is especially important for school children, for commuters, outdoor laborers, our service personnel. They need that morning light for their sleep, their mood, their health, their safety, their education, and their productivity. This is the opinion of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the American Academy of Neurology, the National Safety Council, even Bloomberg Editorial Board for all latitudes and longitudes. Arizona and Hawaii have had permanent standard time for decades, and they do very well. Most nations have permanent standard time. More states now are looking at permanent standard time, including California, Texas, New York. And a Gallup poll found that nearly half of Americans want standard time, and only a quarter want permanent daylight time. And once again, permanent standard time is federally approved. So if you really want to end the clock change, you can pass Bill 102, and you can put it into effect as soon as you're ready. And you can end the clock change this year if you wish. So again, I would ask please a no on Senate Bill 26, a yes on Senate Bill 102. Ditch the switch, lock the clock in the quickest, safest, healthiest, and most lasting way. I'd be glad to answer any questions, and thanks very much for having me.
Thank you, Mr. P. Do we have questions from the committee? I see none. Thank you for joining us today. Do we have questions, comments on either bill? Seeing none, that concludes our agenda for the day. Any closing comments from Senator Kawasaki? Thank you so much.